The AFC North just shifted overnight, and one rival may have handed Cleveland the keys to the kingdom. The Steelers shocked everyone by hiring Mike McCarthy, a coach with a history of underachieving and questionable in-game decisions. Fans were expecting a young offensive innovator, someone like Nate Skillhouse, to take the helm. Instead, Pittsburgh went with a retread, a name that carries baggage more than promise. This isn't just a coaching hire, it's a strategic misstep with ripple effects across the division. McCarthy struggled in Dallas despite a talented roster, and his abrasive style reportedly clashes with players and staff. Clock management, a nightmare; leadership, inconsistent. And yet some analysts are already trying to rewrite history, calling him a white Tomlin, a comparison that ignores decades of evidence. Meanwhile, Cleveland finds itself in the perfect position. With McCarthy off the board, Nate Skillhouse is suddenly available, and paired with Jim Schwartz, the Browns' elite defensive coordinator, the timing couldn't be better. What looked like a setback turns into a potential jackpot. In this video, we'll break down why Pittsburgh's choice may have inadvertently set Cleveland up for long-term success, and why one city is quietly celebrating while the other faces questions it can't ignore. The Steelers just rolled the dice, and the fallout could reshape the AFC North. Pittsburgh shocked fans by hiring Mike McCarthy as their next head coach, a move that left more questions than answers. For weeks, everyone assumed the Steelers were targeting a young, innovative offensive mind, someone like Nate Skillhouse. Analysts and media outlets hyped it up as inevitable. Headlines screamed it, insiders whispered it, fans bought it. And then, out of nowhere, the Steelers went in a completely different direction. McCarthy isn't a new name in coaching, but his recent track record raises eyebrows. In Dallas, he had one of the most talented rosters in the league, yet underachieved in spectacular fashion. Clock management often chaotic, player relationships reportedly strained, and his leadership style has a history of friction rather than cohesion. Critics argue this isn't a coach who elevates a team, it's one who becomes a challenge to manage. Some media voices are already defending him, calling him a white Tomlin or comparing him to other successful coaches. That narrative is misleading. Mike Tomlin has never had a losing season, commands respect in the locker room, and consistently adapts to the modern game. McCarthy, he's shown inconsistency, questionable decision-making, and a pattern of missed opportunities. The Steelers are hopping past glory in Green Bay will translate, but the reality is far murkier. What makes this hire even more consequential is what it leaves open for Cleveland. By choosing McCarthy, the Steelers essentially removed themselves from the race for a young, offensive-minded coach. Suddenly, Nate Skillhouse is free, the innovator the Browns have been quietly eyeing. Pair that with Jim Schwartz, Cleveland's defensive mastermind who remains in place, and you have a unique combination: elite defensive continuity and the potential for a revitalized offense. The Steelers' gamble isn't just about the next season, it's about division-wide strategy. Fans are frustrated, insiders are questioning the logic, and the ripple effects will be felt far beyond Pittsburgh. Every misstep McCarthy makes could directly benefit the Browns. Every questionable decision, every mismanaged drive becomes an opportunity for Cleveland to pull ahead. In short, Pittsburgh's choice might feel like a win for them on paper, but it could easily become a turning point for their rivals. The decision to prioritize familiarity over innovation has handed Cleveland an unexpected advantage, and the Browns are ready to capitalize. Let's be honest, Mike McCarthy isn't just a questionable hire, he's a liability. Fans in Pittsburgh should be bracing themselves because history suggests this isn't going to be smooth sailing. In Dallas, McCarthy inherited one of the most talented rosters in the NFL. C.D. Lamb, Dak Prescott, a loaded supporting cast, the pieces were there. And yet, the team underperformed at every turn. Wins slipped through the cracks, late-game decisions were baffling, and the spotlight wasn't on the players' mistakes, it was on him. Clock management, a disaster. Timeouts burned unnecessarily. End-of-half situations handled like it was rookie-level play. It's the kind of thing analysts point to as fundamental incompetence, yet fans and media often gloss over it. Then there's the human element. McCarthy has a reputation for friction. Players who thrive under collaboration and communication often clash with his abrasive style. Coaches have reportedly found it difficult to align with him. Leadership isn't just calling plays, it's inspiring confidence, trust, and buy-in. That's where McCarthy struggles. Some outlets are already comparing him to Mike Tomlin, calling him a white Tomlin or a Tomlin-like. Stop. Tomlin is an institution, never a losing season, always a stable locker room, consistently adapting to the modern NFL. McCarthy, he's a risk. A coach who relies on past success rather than innovating. A coach whose big-name history in Green Bay and Dallas often overshadows glaring flaws. For Pittsburgh, this isn't a minor gamble. Every mismanaged clock, every misread defensive scheme, every abrasive interaction could cost the team wins and hand the AFC North to a rival. The Browns, watching carefully, now have a chance to capitalize. McCarthy's hire creates an opening that wasn't there before. Nate Skillhouse, the young offensive mind everyone assumed the Steelers wanted, is now free to make a move elsewhere. Cleveland can pair Skillhouse with Jim Schwartz on defense, continuity, and innovation, while Pittsburgh deals with the weight of a coach who underdelivers under pressure. In short, McCarthy's arrival isn't just a hire, it's a problem wrapped in experience. Pittsburgh is betting on familiarity and past glories, but the risks are glaring. For every Pittsburgh fan celebrating the name recognition, there's a potential disaster brewing on the field. Every mistake he makes could directly benefit Cleveland. And that's exactly what makes this hire such a pivotal moment in the AFC North. While Pittsburgh was busy celebrating a safe choice, Cleveland quietly gained a massive advantage. The Browns were staring into uncertainty, needing a head coach who could turn an offense around without sacrificing the defense. Enter Nate Skillhouse. The young offensive mind that everyone assumed would end up in Pittsburgh is now wide open for Cleveland. The timing couldn't be more perfect. Some insiders tried to sell the narrative that Skillhouse was out of the picture, that the Browns should look elsewhere. Reports claimed Pittsburgh had locked him down, that interviews were canceled, that he was only eyeing the Steel City. But the reality? Pittsburgh's choice of McCarthy removed themselves from the equation entirely. By recycling the past, they handed the Browns a golden opportunity on a silver platter. The strategic implications are enormous. Pairing Skillhouse with Jim Schwartz on defense is almost unprecedented. Usually when a new head coach arrives, the defense takes a hit due to staff turnover, scheme changes, and adjustment periods. Not here. Schwartz stays. The defense remains elite, providing a solid foundation while Skillhouse brings innovation to the offense. Continuity and creativity, the best of both worlds. Fans often underestimate how much organizational strategy matters. It's not just about talent on the field, it's about timing, leverage, and market dynamics. Pittsburgh had the leverage, they had the allure, but they squandered it on a name from the past. Cleveland, operating out of necessity, now has a chance to land the future. That's how smart front offices win in today's NFL. Some rumors suggest Skillhouse could bring a complete identity shift to the Browns' offense, moving toward fast-paced, high-efficiency play calling while keeping Schwartz's defense untouched. It's the kind of dual approach that turns playoff hopes into serious contention. Cleveland fans may not fully appreciate it yet, but this is a strategic masterstroke disguised as a quiet hire. The Steelers wanted a proven name. The Browns got innovation, continuity, and timing all aligned perfectly. Every misstep by McCarthy in Pittsburgh only increases Cleveland's advantage. This isn't just about coaching hires. It's about reading the market, seizing opportunity, and turning your rivals' mistakes into your gain. The AFC North just shifted in a way most people didn't see coming, and Cleveland is standing tall while Pittsburgh looks backward. The narrative you've been fed by the mainstream media, it was smoke and mirrors. Headlines screamed that Nate Skillhouse was destined for Pittsburgh, that Cleveland was out of luck. Analysts hyped the inevitability as if it were carved in stone. Grant Udensky and others painted a story of Skillhouse canceling interviews, ignoring Cleveland, and setting his sights solely on the Steel City. But that was the illusion, a distraction designed to keep eyes off the real play. Media cycles thrive on drama and conflict, and they sell certainty even when the facts are far murkier. Fans bought into it, retweeting Skillhouse to Steelers like it was gospel. But those who watched closely saw something else. The movements didn't match the headlines. Connections, interviews, and organizational needs pointed elsewhere. The narrative was noise. And in that noise, Pittsburgh quietly handed Cleveland a strategic win. Reports suggest that the media's fixation on McCarthy as a vintage Green Bay hire distracted everyone from the bigger picture. The Steelers got the name, but Cleveland got the substance. Every headline praising McCarthy's experience conveniently ignored his recent failures in Dallas. Analysts comparing him to Tomlin were doing mental gymnastics, ignoring years of tape showing mismanaged games and friction with players. The coverage focused on perception over reality, reputation over results. Meanwhile, Cleveland's front office stayed patient. They let the narrative swirl, let Pittsburgh chase its comfort, and waited. Skillhouse didn't need to prove loyalty, he needed the right stage. With McCarthy out of the way, the Browns could now position themselves as the team with vision. The media might try to frame this as a gamble, but in reality it's a calculated strategy. Timing, leverage, and context all align in Cleveland's favor. Some insiders speculate that the media will continue to spin the story, trying to paint Skillhouse as the rising star finally forced to settle. But savvy fans can see through it. The silence, the missed interviews, the supposed disinterest, it was all part of the setup. The headlines distracted, the pundits debated, and the rumor mill churned. Meanwhile, Cleveland quietly prepared to land the offensive mind they actually needed. What the media often misses is that the NFL isn't just about wins and losses. It's about strategy off the field. The Browns are proving that reading between the lines, ignoring the hype, and trusting your process can yield massive rewards. Pittsburgh's choice created the perfect storm. Every misreported headline only makes Cleveland's eventual hire look smarter, sharper, and more calculated. The narrative bubble has burst, and the quiet winners are standing tall. Pittsburgh thought they were making a bold move, but in reality they stepped backward. By hearing Mike McCarthy, they chose familiarity over innovation, a decision that immediately raises eyebrows. McCarthy's resume isn't spotless. In Green Bay, he relied heavily on Aaron Rodgers' brilliance to mask flaws. In Dallas, the talent-laden roster under his watch underachieved spectacularly. Games were lost due to questionable clock management, puzzling decisions, and an inability to adapt under pressure. This isn't speculation, it's tape, stats, and history staring the Steelers in the face. Fans are already voicing frustration. Abrasive, disconnect with players, friction in the locker room, these aren't rumors. They're documented patterns. Compare McCarthy to Tomlin and the difference is stark. Tomlin commands respect, sustains consistency, and builds a culture that wins. McCarthy, he struggles to maintain cohesion, often relying on past successes to justify current choices. It's a gamble, but the kind that seems more like a step into mediocrity than a leap forward. The timing couldn't be more ironic. While Pittsburgh embraces the known commodity, Cleveland waits patiently. McCarthy's hire effectively clears the path for Skillhouse. The Steelers removed themselves from contention for a dynamic, offensive-minded coach, leaving the Browns in position to scoop up the top candidate. It's almost poetic. Pittsburgh's short-term thinking is Cleveland's long-term gain. Strategically, the decision exposes Pittsburgh's risk profile. They bet on reputation instead of innovation. They prioritized history over adaptability. Every mismanaged 2-minute drill, every questionable substitution, every instance of locker room tension is now a potential advantage for Cleveland. Fans in Pittsburgh may cheer the name on the door, but every slip-up on the field amplifies Cleveland's opportunity to dominate in the coming seasons. And let's not overlook the ripple effect across the league. Teams watching the Steelers' choice may hesitate before taking risks, while Cleveland's approach signals patience, vision, and calculated strategy. One organization plays the headlines, the other reads the room. One hires a retread, the other secures the future. The contrast couldn't be clearer. Pittsburgh's misstep isn't just a local story, it's a cautionary tale. Hire the name and you might get history repeating itself, failures included. Skip the vision and you hand your rivals the advantage. McCarthy's past tells a story of potential unfulfilled, of opportunities squandered. And in this chess game, Cleveland now sits in checkmate position, ready to capitalize on every misstep that Pittsburgh fails to see coming. While Pittsburgh stumbles, Cleveland quietly positions itself for a coup. The hearing of Mike McCarthy by the Steelers isn't just a misstep, it's a lifeline for the Browns. Nate Skillhouse, the young, offensive-minded coach the league has been buzzing about, now sits squarely in Cleveland's crosshairs. The path cleared by Pittsburgh's conservative choice is almost surgical. No distractions, no competition, just a golden opportunity for Cleveland to secure a visionary leader. But this isn't just about hearing a name. Skillhouse brings an identity, a system that can reshape a stagnant offense and inject life into a franchise that has been searching for clarity. Pair him with Jim Schwartz, one of the NFL's elite defensive coordinators, and suddenly Cleveland isn't just adding talent, they're building a machine. The defense remains locked down, continuity is preserved, and now the offense has a specialist ready to innovate. It's a rare alignment, one that many franchises spend years chasing, often failing to find. Cleveland's leadership deserves credit. Jimmy Haslam and Andrew Barry made it clear. The priority is offensive innovation. They understand the NFL isn't one on legacy or past glories, it's one on adaptability, creativity, and execution. While Pittsburgh clings to nostalgia, Cleveland moves forward strategically. The young coach's offensive acumen combined with a seasoned defensive anchor creates both stability and upside, a balance that's almost unheard of in today's league. The timing couldn't be better. Rumors, distractions, and misleading media narratives once suggested Skillhouse was slipping off the board, heading elsewhere. But that chatter now looks like a smokescreen. Every delay, every canceled interview, every supposed disinterest was simply the waiting game, Skillhouse biding his time until the perfect opportunity emerged. And now it has. The domino fell in Pittsburgh and Cleveland is ready to capitalize. Fans, analysts, and even rival executives should take note. This isn't luck, it's strategy. While McCarthy inherits a roster with friction and outdated systems, Cleveland inherits clarity, direction, and momentum. Skillhouse isn't just a hire, he's the catalyst for a franchise ready to redefine itself. And the impact could be immediate. Offensive systems take time to install, but when paired with an already elite defensive foundation, the ceiling rises dramatically. Cleveland now has the rare combination of innovation, stability, and timing. Every Pittsburgh misstep becomes an opening. Every questionable play or clock mismanagement by McCarthy amplifies Cleveland's advantage. In the chess game of the NFL, Cleveland isn't just playing, they're poised to checkmate. The media loves a story, but sometimes the story isn't the truth, it's just noise. For weeks, pundits painted Nate Skillhouse as a lock for Pittsburgh. Headlines screamed inevitability. Analysts dissected every tweet, every canceled interview, every minor gesture as proof that Skillhouse's future was in the Steel City. Fans bought it, they shared it, they debated it endlessly, but the reality was something entirely different. The narrative was a smokescreen designed to distract, to mislead, and ultimately to serve someone else's agenda. Cleveland's front office recognized the noise for what it was. They ignored the hype, the hot takes, and the supposed insider intel. They saw the logic others missed. The moment Pittsburgh committed to McCarthy, Cleveland's path became clear. The competition evaporated. Skillhouse didn't fall off the board, he was simply waiting for the right opportunity, a team with vision, stability, and the authority to let him innovate. Meanwhile, Pittsburgh faces a different reality. Fans are starting to question the McCarthy hire, and not without reason. Social media is buzzing with frustration over his past failures, clock mismanagement, and reported friction with players. Analysts compare him to Tomlin, but those comparisons ignore history, ignore context, and ultimately mislead the public. The Steelers may have bought a familiar name, but Cleveland just picked up the future. What many observers miss is the strategic elegance of Cleveland's position. While the headlines chase Pittsburgh's drama, the Browns are quietly assembling a foundation built for sustainable success. One visionary offensive mind paired with a seasoned defensive coordinator isn't just a staffing decision, it's a structural advantage. It ensures the team can innovate without losing stability, execute without sacrificing continuity, and compete without unnecessary growing pains. The lesson here is clear: the story you see isn't always the story you get. Media narratives are fleeting and fan outrage is immediate, but strategic decisions unfold quietly. Cleveland isn't reacting to headlines, they're shaping outcomes. Every McCarthy misstep, every mismanaged game in Pittsburgh becomes a potential gain for the Browns. The optics may favor the Steelers now, but the calculus favors Cleveland. For fans willing to look past the noise, the message is simple. The future isn't bought with big names or recycled reputations, it's earned with timing, insight, and calculated moves. Cleveland is showing that patience and strategy beat hype every time. And as the weeks unfold, what the media missed may become painfully obvious. The real story isn't in Pittsburgh, it's in Cleveland. The media loves a story, but the headlines don't always tell the truth. For weeks, pundits claimed Nate Skillhouse was heading to Pittsburgh, spinning narratives and selling hype. Fans debated it endlessly, but the reality was different. Skillhouse didn't fall off the board, he was waiting for the right opportunity, and Pittsburgh's McCarthy hire cleared the path. Cleveland saw the logic others missed. While Pittsburgh opted for a familiar name with baggage, the Browns positioned themselves for sustainable success. One visionary offensive mind paired with a top-tier defensive coordinator isn't just a staffing decision, it's a structural advantage. Stability on one side of the ball, innovation on the other. That combination sets the Browns up for long-term growth and minimizes growing pains. Meanwhile, Steelers fans are starting to question McCarthy's hire. Social media buzzes with critiques about his past failures, clock mismanagement, and friction with players. Comparisons to Tomlin ignore history and context. Every misstep in Pittsburgh becomes a potential gain for Cleveland. The lesson is clear: hype doesn't equal strategy. Cleveland isn't chasing headlines, they're shaping outcomes. Patience, timing, and calculated moves win over recycled reputations and flashy names. The real story in the AFC North isn't who made the big splash, it's who played the long game. And right now, that's Cleveland.